What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Today, I am interviewing Isaac Stegman up in Seattle area. What part of Seattle are you in, Isaac?
Well, currently I'm in Everett, but I live in Granite Falls now, which is probably nobody on the call knows where Granite Falls is. Out in the mountains.
Love it, love it. Well, I know Isaac because he's the one that introduced me to Hal Elrod. I still remember that first meeting we had down in Portland. God, what was it, about 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Well, and the way I always think of you is you are like literally one of the best connectors. You know, you've introduced me to a lot of good folks. You introduced me to Hal. I introduced Hal to Todd Duncan, and you know, I'm super grateful for that. By the way, you know, you're a great guy, and I'm looking forward to having what I think is going to be an interesting conversation. So, first of all, before I ask my first couple of questions, tell me what you're up to. I know you're doing coaching. If you could just kind of tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in the market right now.
Yeah, started a coaching company called Kaizen Coaching, and we're primarily coaching real estate agents and loan officers. And we also have a real estate magazine that I run and a radio show and podcast. So up to kind of a lot of stuff right now, but it's all good and it all ties together because it's all about adding value for the individual loan officers and real estate agents that we serve.
What's your podcast?
The podcast, The Real Deal radio show, and then The Real Deal podcast is a syndication of that goes out to iTunes. Also launching the Kaizen Coaching podcast in January.
Love it, love it. Well, hey, what caught my attention, and the reason I wanted to bring in this interview is this is really the first time I can say this. I think it's always been the case that, hey, if you were a struggling loan officer and you weren't hitting your goals, it's like you had to change. You know, there was bad habits that you have, or you're not doing enough prospecting, you're not using, you know, there's just lots of change. But literally for the first time, and we're recording this right now in August of 2018, you know, I interviewed Cody Touche yesterday, $100 million producer in your market.
Yeah, great guy.
And one of the things that he said to me that just really, you know, resonated, he's like, you know what? I'm killing it. I'm doing $100 million a year. But I am planning and I am executing that 2 years from now, I'm going to have to do twice the volume to make the same amount of money. So even no matter how successful you are in this business right now, everybody's got to change. You know, they've got to use technology more effectively, and they just need to be better leaders. They need to do a lot of things. So you and I were talking, we kind of aligned around that. So why don't you share your vision, because you mentor, coach a lot of top producers, and what are you seeing? And then let's make sure we get some ideas that whether you're a top loan officer or a struggling loan officer and you need to change what to do. If it's a branch manager and they need to build a better branch culture, what do they need to do? And if you're a C-suite executive and you need to drive change, let's make sure we give all three folks some takeaways. You good to go?
Yeah, and I think it's the same for everyone on a macro level. So when you're talking strategy, it's going to be the same. The tactics are going to be a little bit different when you get micro. The overall principles, though, is everyone's going to have to do more with less. And the only way to do more with less is to become way more efficient. And that's with three things, is you get efficiency and leverage through people, through processes, and through technology. Like that's the three areas that you can then do more with less. There's not 200% more Cody Touche to go around. He doesn't have an extra 50, 60 hours a week to be spending in front of clients, you know? So it's about getting better and refining your process. And people that have sat back and they've just relied on their personality or their database or their sphere, it's not going to be enough. Or just dialing or just filling out the greatness tracker. It's not going to be enough to do what you've always done in order to be successful going forward. So what people are going to have to realize is that they're going to have to really get purposeful about being a great business person and not just a really good loan officer if they're going to survive the market, especially if you're running a team or running a branch or if you're a C-suite executive. You got to look at your own habits and disciplines. You got to look at the habits and disciplines and processes of your organization. And when you go into a market like this, and if you're asking anyone from, you know, Gary Keller to, you know, Tom Ferry, anyone that's out there paying attention to the innovation that's happening, is people right now are going to have to cut back. Now is margin creation time. You're going to have to find ways to create margin in your world so that you have, when things compress even more, you don't go out of business. If you're just throwing money at everything right now, you're going to be in trouble. And so it's about getting better. And there was a great call that I witnessed, I don't know, maybe a week ago on adding value. What a great call that you had a couple of guests on there on being a value add person instead of a discount cut your rate person.
Oh, right. That was a very good call. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And it's so true. I mean, if you're a cut rate person, someone's always going to be willing to undercut you, so it's about using tools and technology. And, if they're not using Mortgage Coach, and if they're not doing the total cost analysis with every single person as a discipline and process, they're just going to be missing out. So from a macro level, it's about refining habits, refining disciplines, and changing mindset, and then we can get tactical.
So a couple things I want to do for everybody right now listening. One, that interview I did with Cody, it was fantastic. I mean, it was really good top producer interview. Putting a link down below. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, there'll be a link to that down below. The interview you're talking about was with the author of Value Added Selling last Friday on our weekly mastermind. And it was fantastic. He gave strategies, tactics, and even scripts on, how can we do a better job of selling value over price. And by the way, I do think that is a common theme in the mortgage industry. Most loan officers, I don't care how successful they are, when you really audit their process and how they deliver, they are selling price and service, and they can do a better job of being a value creator. And our community, as referral-based local mortgage professionals, we need to do a better job of selling our value because, whether it's Amazon Mortgage, whether it's Zillow Mortgage, I mean, at the end of the day, it's technology companies doing mortgages. We need to crush it going forward. So you said it was people, process, technology. I want to make sure that we give people specific ideas and strategies to change their behavior around technology. My community is the Mortgage Coach community. I want them, not because I want them, I believe that if they deliver a better advice experience with our total cost analysis, they'll be more successful. So why don't we close out on some ideas to get better technology adoption? Mm-hmm. Why don't you walk us through a few things from a people and process standpoint? What should people be doing and thinking about?
Definitely. Well, not winging it anymore. That's for sure. That's a lot of people have relied on I just show up and do my thing every day. And people are starting to buy a process more and more, and you look at online brokerages and places like that, they're going to be dialing in their game. They're going to be spending money on technology to provide a great client experience for people. And you have the same ability to use technology and other processes on your side. A lot of people don't, though, or they use it sometimes, but not all the time. And it's really hard to become the best at what you do if you're not consistently, hey, Jason Gosser just popped in the house. So if you're not creating like a seamless template of this is how we operate and this is what we do, including things, like total cost analysis during your process, and every single time we do this, it's really hard to innovate what you can't document, right? If you have a process that you can't document and that you just kind of wing it every time, really hard to be the best that it can be. Keller Williams calls it E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. Essentially, you just show up and do the best you can, or you find the best way to do it, and you take that as a process and you template it, and then you refine it and make it better. And that's what really people need to do, is they need to find a really great process. They need to talk to people like you, other top producers. They need to listen and, get informed from people like Cody, who are taking 2 years down the road and looking at what does that need to look like and how do I start implementing now? Because if you start implementing 2 years down the road, or just kind of start thinking about what you need to do, you'll already be obsolete. I mean, you'll be left in the dust, and it's unfortunate because there are a lot of great loan officers who aren't going to really be relevant in the market anymore in just a couple years because it's moving so fast. So with people, it really comes down to habits. How are you refining your habits so you do the same thing consistently every time, so that there's a streamlined process and it doesn't take all of your emotional and mental and psychological energy to get through your day, putting out fires like you guys do. So creating great habits around the non-negotiables, like your greatness tracker or whatever you're using for tracking your metrics of success. And then your process is every step. We just got off a call with one of the top teams in the country. We were coaching some of their processors, their leaders in the processing team. We said, do you have a template? And they said, well, we have one, but nobody uses it. And everybody, we're finding a lot of mistakes. Well, if they go back to the template, they're looking at every single mistake pretty much is covered in there, and people are just skipping steps in the process. So we're going to have to become, as an industry, better about running a very efficient business, documenting things, making sure we follow the best way to do it, and not just showing up and doing the best we can every day with 8 million fires, going on. So as far as people and processes, those are the biggest two things that we can be doing.
Well, I love that. And just a reminder to everybody here, Media is one of the top teams in the country. They're bringing in Isaac to get better. And even they, aren't executing on their perfect loan process as well. So everybody just needs to step back, do some documentation. Do want to remind you all, especially in today's price compression market, lead conversion playbook. We have a lead conversion playbook. Check it out. I'll put a link below. But you need to have your lead conversion playbook, with your tech stack, with your processes, with what you believe to be the way that you can convert a lead. And by the way, it's not just convert from, prospect to lead, it's convert from prospect to client for life. Because that's the other thing that, as a referral-based local loan officer, you need to turn every client, you need to optimize them in the back end. Not only do you need all their future loans, which I think our industry just hugely blows it. I mean, even the top producers, when I interview them, it's like, you could double your past client referrals right now. You could double your past client business. So let's give them some specific strategies. Just, as we wrap this up, give some specific ideas. One, you said, make sure you're doing your best things consistent. Make sure you have a document of your key processes. What are some other ideas and strategies?
Yeah, so on the people to process one, creating a scoreboard and then individual metrics for success, where you just make sure you do your non-negotiables. And this is something everybody's heard it a million times, and yet you wouldn't believe the 50, 75, 100, $200 million producers that I talk to and coach that still don't consistently do these things. They don't consistently track their numbers, and it's always, I don't know how to improve because I don't know what I did to get here, or I didn't know how many calls I made to get this conversion. So the more you track and know your numbers and keep score, the easier it is to innovate and refine. And that's what's going to need to happen, because you need to do more with less. And then from a tech standpoint, from a process standpoint, you guys have tools. There's so many tools out there. You said you're going to put a link for some of your stuff below. Use those tools and then continue to refine and create your own version of that after you've mastered it. So many people want to look at it and then create their own version, but they're missing like all the key ingredients. It's like, okay, I see the recipe. I've never really baked anything awesome before, but I'm going to throw in some of my own stuff just because I think it sounds good. Get the recipe dialed in first, and then take and innovate a little bit and say, I'm going to add a little bit of this, or I'm going to add a little bit of that. But find a process that is working for people right now. Join a community like the Mortgage Coach community, where people are really dialing in their businesses and being forward thinking. Get a process in place that's working and that's proven, and then dial it in from there after you've mastered that process.
I love that. By the way, the dashboarding thing really works. I mean, we know so many of the top teams, top producers, regardless of whether it's the greatness tracker, win by noon, there's just a lot of different things. But, I recently interviewed, by the way, have you read this book? Have you heard of this book?
Not yet, but if you're recommending it, I know it's a good one.
Yeah, I interviewed Jack Daly, a good friend of mine, and he recommended this book, Salam Ishmael, Exponential Organizations. And basically they're talking about organizations that are 10Xing their competitors in the industry. And what are the things that they're doing in order to 10X their competition? And dashboards is one of those keys. So we know in the mortgage industry, it's more important than ever. What are some other things? Let's just kind of focus on a producing branch manager. So one, they need to do a better job than ever of their own personal dashboard. Should they be running a branch dashboard? What are some other things?
Absolutely.
If you were going to go into a branch right now and, give them three pieces of advice, like three most important things, what would you say?
Yes, one, have a scoreboard because it will hold your people accountable for you. Nobody wants to come in, and I recommend 40X scoreboard, a 4 disciplines of execution scoreboard, where you have your lead measures and your lag measures, and you use the red and green, because it will inform everyone of who's cutting it and who's not. And so you don't have to do the job of like inspecting all the time and then having tough conversations with people about, hey, you're not cutting it, you're not cutting it. Everybody knows they got to write it down on the dang board. And so I think having a scoreboard and a tracker for the day where you're like, these are your 3 most important metrics. And at the end of every day, you need to know, what you did on those metrics, and you need to turn it in. So we know what you did on those metrics. Those are the 2 things. And then focusing more on the mindset and culture piece of your branch. A lot of people, especially producing branch managers, it is really hard to produce and then also run a branch and then also be that, that high level leader to have all the tough conversations. But get some help. There's some really simple solutions for managing the mindset and culture of an organization, because when you have a culture and organization that's really a well-oiled machine where the mindset is like win-win or no deal, I've got your back. It's 100-100 versus a 50-50 mindset, all these different mindsets, that we teach and that other people teach. When people are in an organization like that, there's so much less to deal with that you don't want to deal with, as far as like this person's fighting with this person, they didn't think it was fair, and this person's playing a victim because this happened, and this person thinks they're going to quit because they had a file blow up. Well, that happens almost every day. So you're either going to have to learn to deal with it and protect people's mindset and lead that way, or you're going to need to put out all these fires consistently. So managing to the mindset of the culture and of the people is really, really important in creating much more time and efficiency for yourself as a producing branch manager, because you don't have time to deal with all the fallout of that. It's so worth putting a little bit of time, investing a little bit of time into the mindset and the culture of your organization so that they can then have a stronger mindset. And going into the market we're going into, people are either going to need to shore up their mindset, and they're going to need to see this as a challenge, or they're going to be out of the industry. I mean, that's really what it's going to be about. And there's people that react to challenge by shrinking back and kind of hiding. And those people are just going to kind of slowly fade out of the picture. Don't keep paying them forever, by the way, if they're, a support person and they just stop working. And then there's the people that see challenge as an opportunity for growth. And here's what challenge does, is challenge both reveals and refines character at a really high level. Like, that's how character is developed, and that's how you really find out what people are made of. So this is an opportunity to stress test your business. I used to be a firefighter professionally as well for a few years before I got hurt. And we used to stress test our equipment. You don't want your stuff blowing up when things are, crazy at a fire. So you stress test your equipment, and then okay, we need to make this better. We need to improve that. We need to replace that hose. We need to replace this ladder. And so this is a stress test for your organization, because it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. And looking at the stress test, use it as a tool to evaluate your organization and look for the weak points so that you can then make those things better. So don't see this as a negative. This is actually a positive, because you're going to come out of this with a better, healthier business and more market share and a stronger team and mindset if you do the right things now.
I love it. Well, I love this conversation. So let's end on this note, because I think you and I believe the same thing. I don't believe that technology is going to eliminate the loan officer, but I do believe the loan officer that leverages technology, masters technology like their CRM, like a mortgage coach total cost analysis, they will absolutely crush the loan officers that don't, the referral-based loan officers that don't. So if there was a branch and they were rolling out mortgage coach, what would be 2 pieces of advice that you'd have to that branch manager to get rapid adoption and rapid success at leveraging, mortgage coach total cost analysis at the point of sale?
Yep. Well, everyone's doing it. I mean, I coach an owner of one of the top KW brand, market centers in the area as well. And they're rolling out huge tech stuff right now. Everyone's rolling out tech because they know that tech is going to be part of the solution going forward, and the people don't adopt it are going to be left behind. So when you have people adopting technology, the first thing to do is look at what do we need them to implement right away that's simple. Like, just get them using something and adopting the system a little bit, and then you can grow from there. People that try to just force the whole thing on them and say, we're doing a wholesale switch over to this, start using it, that's when you get a lot of pushback. So find the simplest way to use it, even if it's just the one thing in the technology, like, hey, we always use this, and then have it be consistent. So start simple and then have it be consistent. We always use these three things, in that technology tool. If you do that, then people will start to use and appreciate it. And once they get over the fear of the new technology, they'll start to adopt more and more of that technology platform, and it'll become, everybody fears what they don't know, and nobody likes change like that. But it's part of what's coming. Like, if you're going to be a top loan officer, I sincerely believe if you don't adopt technology, you're missing a huge opportunity, if not hamstringing yourself for the future.
Love that. So, couple things to add on to that last thought. We always think, like, start with the why. So if you're a branch manager and you're rolling out something new, you have a why at the branch level.
Yep.
Help everybody develop this personal why that they should adopt, mortgage coach or whatever, CRM, whatever the new tech is. And then to your point, baby steps. If they could just, we say do it 10 times and you'll never stop. Mm-hmm. So take baby steps. So, hey, this has been a great conversation. If you're watching this and you got value from it, give us a like, share it with your mortgage friends. Isaac, how can people get in touch with you? So anybody that wants to reach out to you, follow your podcast, connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you on social? What's the best way to get into your world?
I'm easy to find on social media. There's like 2 Isaac Stegmans in the entire universe, and I'm the one that looks like this, so you've all seen me now. So find me on Facebook, Isaac, ISAAC, Stegman. You can also look up Kaizen Coaching, KAIZEN, coaching on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or you can go to our website, kaizencoaching.com, and that's my email is isaac@kaizencoaching.com. So feel free to reach out if you have questions, comments. If you don't agree with what I said or anything Dave said, happy to have the conversation as well. I love, those are always turned out to be interesting conversations, and I love it. So thanks again for having me on today, Dave, and look forward to seeing you hopefully soon.
Yeah, hey, I have one more idea. So by the way, folks, I'm going to put a link to Isaac's information down below. So there'll be a couple links down below for you to connect. But you said something about branch manager scorecards, and I would love, and I know a lot of that's proprietary. So, but let's try to get some examples of scorecards in the Mortgage Coach community. So we've got the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind Facebook group. So Isaac, I'm going to throw out a challenge to you. If you could find some sample scorecards, let's get a little bit of a conversation going in the Mortgage Coach community around what that looks like. And obviously there's a lot of different things, but if you have something from some of your clients, please share it over the next couple weeks, couple months.
That's how everybody gets better, right? We all crowdsourcing. So.
All right. Well, hey, man, appreciate your time today. I look forward to bringing you back. By the way, guys, this is not the last time I'll be interviewing Isaac. So if you have a question for next interview, put it down below and we'll bring it up next time we talk.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, take care, man.